G'day, this is part 2 of how to change the front of your 3rd gen Ram over if you want to go from a pre-facelift Ram to a facelifted, or in reverse, you want to do an 06 facelifted Ram back to the pre-facelift look with the narrower headlights. Then these are the parts that you need to do it. We've done part 1, did why I did it, and the process involved in getting it all together. This is going to focus on the pieces you need in order to do the conversion. So let's get into that. It's pretty simple. You don't need to change the bonnet, which is great. So the bonnet stays the same. The bonnet doesn't even come off. Your plastic for your vernier chamber here, that stays the same. Wipers are all still the same. But the other things forward of that and below it, that's what you need to alter. So what you'll need to get is you'll need 2 fenders. Assuming you know which way you want to go. So if you've got a pre-facelifted Ram like I did, an 05 and before, then you've got the narrow headlights with the kind of rounded bottom. So you need to get if you want to go to the later model, it's 06 onwards, and if you want to go from 06 onwards backwards, then you need to go from 05 prior. So for whichever model you need all the parts to suit that particular truck, obviously. So parts you need 2 fenders, you need 2 headlights, you'll need a new headlight adapter to go from your old headlight plug to the new headlight plug. You'll need a new grille, you'll need a grille support panel with an asterisk there, and you will need a new bumper. The bumper mounts will be fine, they'll carry over. As I said, bonnet's the same. So it's a pretty simple conversion. The hardest thing to do is to change the bumper bar over. In this case, I didn't do a bumper bar, I did the bull bar. So this has got a tough bar on it. So if you can find either a used one, as I did, or a brand new bar, you can go Tough make them for the facelifted model. ARB make them, but you'll have to get it custom made, but they do make them. It still is in their catalogue, and I think ECB still do them as well. There might be other manufacturers, but I'm pretty sure, definitely know Tough still will do one for you. ARB will, but you've got to custom order it, and there'll be a lag time for that, and an ECB as well. So, or if you don't want to put a bull bar on it, then you've got to find a whole bumper assembly, and that would have been the hardest part of this conversion if I had to buy one brand new, because that would be quite heavy, and it's also the most difficult part to do yourself. So the bumper is the heaviest, the most difficult part. This is all pretty easy, but it's only the bumper is a little difficult because it's heavy. It's a heavy bumper, and you got to get it out of there. I can lift it myself. I couldn't lift the bull bar myself. I got that onto the forklift. This thing weighs a ton, not a literal ton, but it weighs a lot. But the bumper I was able to lift out of the way myself and carry it, but it is pretty heavy. So that was the hardest thing of it. So to get the bumper off, there's 2 bolts that go in either side of the chassis rails. You can just take those 2 bolts out. They're U-bolts, undo 2 nuts, and the U-bolts pull out, and then you can shuffle the bumper bar off. Mine had fog lights, so you got to disconnect the fog lights. And anything else you've got powered, if you've got driving lights or something, disconnect all that and then just wiggle it off, and that'll come away. You can either do it that way, or you can undo the bolts that are facing towards the front of the truck, undo those bolts, and then leave the bumper mounts behind and then just pull it away. The thing I found about undoing the 2 U-bolts and pulling them out is that the factory bumper mounts that it's kind of a U, and it slides over the chassis rails, and that kind of held it in place after I got the bolts out, so I was able to get around the front of it and shuffle it off. So it didn't just go clank and fall on the ground, whereas if you undid the bolts that went to the bumper, you'd have to be holding it up because there'll be nothing left and it'll just fall down when you get that last bolt out. So you take the bumper off, pop the bonnet. You get to the grille from the back, and there's a heap of different little bolts there. Just undo them all, and then the grille will come off, and then the grille support is bolted to the bonnet. Undo that, and then that'll come off. It's just kind of a wire thing. Now with the grille support, on all the reading that I did to do this conversion, it seems quite apparently, that you can use the pre-facelifted grille support for the facelifted grille if you trim it down. But I was unable to find definitive instructions on how to trim it. They said just match it up with the grille and then trim it where necessary. The grille support was not an expensive part. It cost me under $100 Australian. I mean, that's not free, but it wasn't the end of the world. So I just bought the grille support and imported it and changed the grille support and the grille. And because I intended on selling my front, that made some sense as well, because it means that I can sell the whole front end bar the bonnet, including the grille support. So that made some sense to me. So yeah, you just unbolt that. To bolt the new grille on, so this is a 3rd gen grille. It's done in the style of the later, the 5th gen Rams, with the chrome embellishments around the edge. So that came from Amazon. And once you get that grille support on there, everything's just done in reverse. It's not really a big deal. You just sit it in there, tighten all your nuts up, and that's done. That's the easiest part of the conversion, really. That's a piece of cake. So I just you do that, you leave the bonnet up, then you can take the fenders off. There's a little screw just here in the plastic vernier chamber on both sides. You undo that, and then it's just bolts. You do have to take your antenna off. To take your antenna off, you just undo your antenna. That you can just do that there. But then you'll need an antenna removal tool to take off the chrome ring. You can do it potentially with a set of vice grips or something, but you know you'll scuff up your chrome and you probably won't really want to reuse it. So you can buy a antenna removal tool, which is just rings with different keyways in it, and you just, once your antenna's off, you just put that over the top and just undo it, and then with that chrome ring off, that black piece will come out, will be loose. So you can undo your fender bolts, and you've got to do your headlights first. So your headlights are nice and easy. They're just bolts at the front, and when your headlight will wiggle out, you'll be able to see them. That's not a huge deal. So take your headlights out with your and unclip your harness, take your headlights out. Mud flap's got to come off, inner plastic guard's got to come out. So I'm doing this instruction in a little bit of the wrong order. So what you want to do, headlight out, mud flap off, your inner guard off, and then you can undo the bolts that hold the fender on, and then just lift it out. They're not heavy, you can just lift that off. Just be careful, you have the bonnet up, there's bolts down the top of the fender, and then there's some bolts at the back, bolts at the front. They're all visible. It's not difficult to find them and then take them off, but just be careful when you pull it away that you don't have it flick or move and then scratch the paint or something on the rest of the car that is staying behind. And that's it, with the bumper off, fenders off, headlight out. You don't need to modify anything. The only thing you need to modify is the harness that goes to the headlight, and it will depend which way you're going as to which harness you need. So you'll need to go get a harness that connects the plug from the headlight that you are buying to what the old headlight was. So just find out what your globes are. It's not a big deal. Find out what the globe is for the new headlight compared to the old one, and then you'll just buy a harness that joins those two together. Make sure your male and female is in the right order. I bought the harness off eBay for literally, I think it was $15 delivered from an international seller. So it was, $15 part, snaps in, easy peasy. You can splice the wires, but you're going to need to get a connector for the new type of plug that you've got. I found just getting one of those little pigtail adapters was just the easiest thing to do. So you just put in the globe that you're looking from, the globe you're looking to, and then just search for that. You'll find an adapter. It's really not a big deal, and you have to do no wiring to get the headlight going. The only wiring I had to do was in my old fender. I had an indicator here, and I say Australian design rules, you've got to have the front indicator's got to be able to be visible from the side, and I achieved that by having an indicator on the bull bar now, and I've also got an indicator in the mirror, so there's no indicator here anymore, and I've just sent the signal that used to be here. One goes here, one goes down here, and that's how I've covered it. But the alternate way you could do is I could have just drilled a hole there where I wanted my indicator to go, and then just move the indicator from the old fender into the new fender, plugged the bulb straight back in again, nice and simple, no big deal, because this fender didn't come pre-drilled with side indicators, which is curious, but that's how it came. So I've just left that deleted and put an indicator here and here, and I've covered myself that way. Assembly is just the reverse. Fender goes on. Trial fit it first. So if you're painting the fenders yourself, what I would suggest you do, I brought these fenders in, they came from an Eastern European country for some reason, but the manufacturing stamp on them, apparently they came out of Taiwan. But that's where the seller I bought them from was from Eastern Europe, which is very strange. You're buying an American fender for a truck for a fender for an American truck out of Eastern Europe. But anyway, that's where they came from. And this one was a little damaged, but it was just a case of a bit of panel work to get it straight. But what I would suggest, and you should do this with any panel, if you buy a panel, hopefully it's just a straight factory fit, but trial fit it first, put it on there, bolt it up. Does the body line match? Do you need to do any adjustments, any panel work on it before you get it painted? If it's all sweet, beautiful, paint it, mount it, away you go. That's how it should work, but it doesn't always. Sometimes you fit it and go, oh geez, that doesn't quite fit. I might need to just adjust that. Or if you're getting a panel shop to do that, make sure they have the truck so that they can make sure it all matches and looks like a factory fit. You don't want to have some ill-fitting panel and then fitting it and going, geez, that body line doesn't match up at all. Now with these fenders, the body line should match up perfectly, which these do, which is awesome. Nice and simple. So fender on, you can put the headlight in. You'll need to remount your antenna, indicator if you're doing that, or change your wiring if you're mucking around with it. Inner guard on, fender on, your grille's already been done. Mount your bumper, and then as you're going, you're matching up your body lines, making sure everything sits as it should from factory. You've got nice clean body lines on your fenders. Your headlights go in nice and neat, and and then mount your bumper and make sure that all fits in with the body line. So if you're in Australia, the hardest thing, the fenders weren't easy to get. They were quite expensive, and I couldn't find anyone locally to do them for me at a reasonable price, so I sourced them myself, as I said, out of Eastern Europe. I couldn't even get a cheap quote out of the US. The fenders are cheap. No problem buying the fenders. My problem was, could I get them here? It was going to cost me literally thousands of dollars to get the fenders here, and I couldn't find anyone who was reasonably cost effective to do it. These ones ended up costing me about, I'm not exactly sure, somewhere between $600 and $700 the pair is what it cost me. So that was okay, but if it was going to cost me $4 grand for a pair of fenders, it would have been far cheaper just to get a custom-made bull bar for the pre-facelifted front. Whereas, $700, these only cost me a couple $100, these cost me a couple $100, and the bull bar cost me $1,000. It worked out to be about, I think it was under half what it was going to cost me just to get a custom bull bar made. So I was quite happy. It gives me a newer look. To me, that's neither here nor there. I quite like the look of the original, the original look of the pre-facelift, but it gives you a bit more of a modern look. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. So it's not really that difficult. If you're getting someone to paint your fenders and everything for you, and all you're doing is mounting it, you probably want someone to help you with your bumper. If you're putting one of these bull bars on, you're definitely going to need a hand. If you are putting one of these big bull bars on, they are really, really heavy. With the forklift, I had it mounted on the tips of the forks, and then a ratchet strap back to the headboard of your forks there, just to keep it in place, and then just moved it in very slowly, moved it up, down, side shift to get it in there. And it actually worked extremely well. It was actually quite easy. I did the whole thing myself, and I'm quite happy with how it's sitting. But if you were mounting one of these and you didn't have a forklift or a crane or something, even if you had a crane and it's kind of like this, the good thing about the forklift, it was dead level. But you'd probably want a hand to get it on, even with the bumper. With mounting bumpers, if you've got all your mounting in there and bracing and they're heavy, and you just tilt it the wrong way, you can smack the bottom of your fender and scratch it, and you know, all that hard work's for naught. So you want to be careful there. That's going to be your most difficult part to do. But really, it's not a big deal. I did this, fitted the fenders, you know, after I'd got the fenders painted, I stripped it and put everything back on again in a day easily and had time to spare. It's really not a big job and you can do it quite quickly. But they're the parts you need. So in summary, you do need fenders. The inner guards will stay the same. You'll need headlights. You'll need a headlight harness to convert from your old plug to your new plug. You're going to need a bumper. You're going to need a grill. You need a grill support, and you're sweet to go. That's everything you'll need. Everything else will stay factory, and you're away. So if you want to go, and it'll work either way, whether you want to go pre-facelift to facelift or facelift to pre-facelift, same process either way. So I hope this was useful for you. If you wanted more information about why I did it and all that, check the other video on the facelifted Ram and we'll cover all that for you right there. But otherwise, thank you for watching.